The heat is turned up to high on Attorney General Jeff Sessions. That after he's accused of meeting with the Russians during the campaign, lying about it then to Congress. He's recused himself from the matter, but we will take a look at the tangled history of when it comes to Trump, his campaign, and Russia. Then, remember, it wasn't too long ago when Mayor Bill de Blasio was plunging in the polls, persona non grata in his party, people racing to run against him. Well, I guess that was then, and this is now. He's now on a roll. His poll numbers are rising. What's going on here? Then, as hate crimes and anti-Semitism surges, we speak with someone from the Anti-Defamation League about how they are fighting. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you for joining us this Thursday evening. And we begin tonight with the latest twist in the Russia story that has now gotten Attorney General Jeff Sessions facing some very serious questions and allegations over his contact with the Russians. Just minutes ago, Sessions gave a news conference to announce that he will not get involved in probing the matter.
I have recused myself in the matters that deal with the Trump campaign.
But Democrats feel like he should step down.
Gave false testimony.
Democratic lawmakers gathered outside the Department of Justice demanding Attorney General Jeff Sessions resign. That following revelations that he met twice with a Russian ambassador during the 2016 campaign, but the president standing by him.
Mr. President, do you still have confidence in the Attorney General? Total.
Sessions says his meetings were not as a Trump campaign official and were appropriate as a senator. But Democrats say that is not the issue.
There's nothing inappropriate with a senator meeting with the Russian ambassador. There is something very inappropriate to dramatically mislead Congress.
Judge for yourself. Here is Sessions under oath in his own words.
If there is any evidence that anyone affiliated with the Trump campaign communicated with the Russian government in the course of this campaign, what will you do?
Senator Franken, I'm not aware of any of those activities. I have been called a surrogate at a time or two in that campaign, and I did not have communications with the Russians, and I'm unable to comment on it.
Sessions said he answered honestly.
Let me be clear. I never had meetings with Russian operatives or Russian intermediaries about the Trump campaign.
Now, the Sessions story would be worrisome enough just even on its own, but we have been hearing about Trump's connections to Russia, well, for the better part of a year. Senior political correspondent Andrew Whitman, he's been looking into leaks between Trump Tower and Moscow, and Andrew, literally by the hour today, they've been ratcheting up.
They have, and we have a lot of back information here over the last year or so, as you were saying. And some of these contacts between Trump and Russia have been confirmed. Others have just been reported. But the totality of them all may be enough for some to conclude that behind all that smoke, there may as well be some fire. Take a look and judge for yourself. Connections between Russia and Donald Trump, Trump's family and businesses began long before Trump came close to becoming a candidate. It apparently began on the business side. At a 2008 real estate conference in New York, Donald Trump Jr. says, quote, Russians make up a pretty disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets, and, quote, we see a lot of money pouring in from Russia. Trump Sr. will later deny any business involvement with Russia. Meanwhile, future Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort is doing business with the party of the pro-Russian leader of Ukraine. He'll pocket nearly $13 million between 2007 and 2012. As for Trump himself, that British dossier says beginning in 2012, Russia sought to cultivate a relationship with the reality TV star. They offer him sweetheart business deals, which Trump rejects. But in 2013, Trump does a deal with Russia to host the Miss Universe pageant in Moscow, an arrangement that would have brought Trump and associates in direct contact with people close to Vladimir Putin. It's around this time the dossier suggests Trump hired prostitutes for a lurid and messy encounter in a Moscow hotel room, potentially to further compromise Trump. None of this has been confirmed. 2.5 years later, December 2015, Trump is now officially a candidate for president. Retired general and Trump advisor and future national security advisor Mike Flynn is paid to attend a Moscow celebration for TV network Russia Today. He sits next to Vladimir Putin. By this time, the British dossier says the Russian government is providing a regular flow of information to the Trump campaign on Democrats as well as Trump's Republican presidential rivals. March 2016, the Russian hacking into Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta begins. A month later, the hacking of the DNC begins. No information is leaked yet. July 2016, as Republicans gather for their convention in Cleveland, Senator Jeff Sessions, a top advisor with the Trump campaign, meets nearby with Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador to the U.S. It will not be the last time Kislyak's name is linked to the Trump campaign. Also last July, Trump foreign policy advisor Carter Page meets with businessmen with close ties to Putin in Moscow, a visit that has been confirmed. There are also unconfirmed reports those contacts tell Page of compromising materials against Trump and is told Trump should, quote, bear this in mind. August or September, according to the British dossier, Trump business attorney Michael Cohen meets with Russians in Prague. Cohen flatly denies this and claims he never left the U.S., but Cohen himself reportedly has lengthy ties to business interests in a Moscow-friendly Ukraine. September, Sessions meets again with Russian Ambassador Kislyak. October, Donald Trump Jr. is paid $50,000 to appear at a think tank in Paris, a think tank run by a pair allied with Putin on Syria. The Wall Street Journal reporting this today. After November 8th, any contacts between Russia and now President-elect Trump take on new significance. And in late December, Trump's designee to be National Security Advisor Michael Flynn trades texts and has a face-to-face visit with Ambassador Kislyak. On December 29th, President Obama announces new sanctions and expulsions against Russia for hacking the election campaign. That day, Flynn and Kislyak speak several times, a move that may have led to Vladimir Putin foregoing any retaliation against the U.S., and a move that certainly led to Flynn's resignation in early February. Two additional angles on the Trump-Russia connections coming out today. The White House now saying that the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who's now a senior advisor to the president, was also at that meeting in December where Michael Flynn sat down with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. That one was at Trump Tower. The White House insists that the meeting was designed to open lines of communication between the incoming administration and the Russian government, and that Flynn was the major participant and that Kushner's role was smaller and less significant. There's also word tonight that the work of investigators looking into Trump's Russia ties may get a little more help than previously believed. The Times reporting that in the closing days of the Obama administration, White House officials worked to spread information about the Trump-Russia connection across the government to leave a clear trail for investigators. The report says President Obama was not directly involved in the decision, which was done in part to make sure that any evidence was not covered up or destroyed. President Trump has pointed a finger at Obama and the administration, saying they are seeking to discredit his new administration. Rich?
You get the sense, and we'll talk the politics with the table after this, but purely from the investigatory standpoint, Andrew, we are just at the tip of this, and that there are so many moving parts. You mentioned the Dutch, the British intelligence agencies. This isn't something that they came on the scene in December or something. They've been looking at this for a while. This dossier apparently was credible enough that reportedly the FBI was willing even to pay this person to expand his investigation and continue it even further. There is, as you said, a lot of smoke, and there's a lot of people believe there's a lot of fire to it too.
Well, and pretty much all we've gotten from the Trump administration has been flat denials on everything up until now. And so you've led to this drip, drip, drip of information that's come out. And with all these different moving parts, it's hard to see where that drip stops or when it stops, which is almost more damaging to the Trump administration because it keeps it in the headlines so often and it forces them to pivot back to it. I mean, the last 2 days we've been talking about the bump that the president got following his address to Congress. All of that momentum seems to have screeched to a halt today with all this information about Jeff Sessions and now about Jared Kushner.
You know, the public, I'm sure you mentioned in your piece, Flynn, he's most recently the one who's gone down as a consequence. Sessions, or at least his role in this, we'll see as he stays AG. But don't forget Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort, you mentioned in your piece as well, was the most trusted confidant and really campaign manager. His sudden departure, yes, it was in a troubling time as part of the campaign, but he had ties to Ukraine and business interests there long before the campaign had even started, and he too was an emissary reportedly for the intelligence to this as well. There are too many hands that had contacts there that this is going to go away anytime soon. And to me, the biggest overarching question that I've been asking for a year now is, for a candidate who has been willing to attack not only his opposition, but even members of his own party, repeatedly and unnecessarily at times, and make personal attacks against everybody and anyone under the sun, the only person, maybe with the exception of his children, that has been saved condemnation has been one Vladimir Putin and one Russia when there's been no political gain ever. And we've always been asking why.
Yeah, that's the brass ring question in all of this. I mean, there are so many other foundational questions leading up to that point. If we were watching a courtroom drama, there are still lots of preliminary questions that need to be answered before we can even get a better sense of what exactly Trump's motivations might be, or whether there was anything sinister in this beyond just his political motivation. I mean, we've talked a lot about how it doesn't seem to make sense that he would be so soft on Russia, so maybe there is something there. But
so let's just put a punctuation. We'll do the politics with the guys in a second. On the legal front, there's concurrent investigations right now. And while we don't know...
Right now in the House and the Senate Intelligence Committees, the FBI is also investigating.
Exactly. And we don't know if, in fact, an independent prosecutor, if one will be appointed, who will be, but we do know who it won't be. And that won't be the Attorney General. We don't believe the deputy either would be the one that would be overseeing.
That's correct. But then you also get to additional questions. Can the FBI be trusted in this investigation? They report to Jeff Sessions, and they also report to his number two, who was the U.S. Attorney from North Virginia, who became the acting Attorney General. These are Trump appointees. Can an agency that reports to a Trump appointee be objective in this? It's the same question I was asking in Washington Tuesday as to whether Republican-led committees in the House and the Senate can objectively reach conclusions about Trump's dealings with Russia. We'll have to wait and see.
You know this, but just to remind the audience, Comey, and there are people who are supporter or critical of him, but Comey is not a Trump appointee. Comey had a 10-year term. He's into it right now, and he served under both party administrations, if you will. So right now, I guess the hope has to be whatever the FBI has, it won't be politicized, but we shall see. And also with the attacks of this current administration on intelligence, you would think he hasn't curried a lot of favor there as well. All right, coming up next, timing is everything, and we will bring our political panel to look at not only the latest with the story, but also how the story was told. Both the Times and the Post both broke news about Russia just so happened at the same time. Why now, and also where this might go? We'll get into all that after this.